consultants, the national consultants, the organizations that are here will appreciate each and every one of you for being coming, the business women and the press, the gentlemen and ladies of the press and everyone. So with the permission of the Honorable Minister, sir, we'll begin this meeting.
After the opening remark, the Director General of ACCI gives a welcome address.
Good morning, Nigeria. Let me welcome the Honorable Minister, who incidentally is also our leader. Honorable Minister, you're welcome. Thank you, James, all the way from the UK. And thank you, businesses, women-owned businesses, and thank you, Application of Comments, for coming this morning. Thank you, National Council. We are all partners in this project. Honorable Gigi, you're welcome. Thank you very much. It is with a great honor and a sense of strategic purpose that I welcome you all.
The Director General of ACCI welcome everyone to the meeting and share how ACCI strongly believe that unlocking full potential of women entrepreneurs in Nigeria require deliberate policy reform and institutional clarity.
Honorable Minister, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Sarah Aduwari, MNI, representing Princess Edna Azura, the National President, National Council of Women Societies. It is a privilege to be here today, joining such distinguished panel to discuss a topic of immense.
She delivered the message of Princess Edna Azura, the National President of Women's Societies, and shared her opinion on women-owned businesses in Nigeria.
Distinguished participants, I'm here to represent the Director General Smidham, who is unavoidably absent. So I have a speech for him to be delivered now. Distinguished entrepreneurs and fellow advocates for women's empowerment, I am honored to welcome you to today's business breakfast meeting. As the Director General,
he presented the Director General of SMEDAN and commended the effort to promote women entrepreneurship.
Well, actually, I'm Sani. I'm the head of Gender Affairs Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. Government partners, stakeholders, and leaders of enterprise. It is an honor to join you at this strategic gathering focused on shaping the future of women-owned businesses. In Nigeria, through the adoption of the national definition, on behalf of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment,
she gave a speech on focusing on shifting the focus of women-owned businesses in Nigeria through the adoption of the national definition.
The speech of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and all other previous speakers, representatives of various agencies. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for organizing this event, which is an attempt to define or come up with a consensus for women-owned businesses in Nigeria. Union of Chapter 2, which is the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state, which have the economic, social, environmental, political objectives of our nation. And it went on not only to do that, but to command in Section 13 of the Constitution that all those in authority, holding legislative, executive, and judicial power, and at all levels, are commanded to observe, apply, and seek the implementation of the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state.
The minister confirmed the federal government commitment to women's advancement for admitted of how the articulation remains the major challenge. The Minister for Women Affairs talked about how to protect the integrity of the women entrepreneurship in Nigeria.
I'm delighted to join you today for this important business breakfast dialogue, as the issue before us is very dear to us in our ministry. I've always sounded the need for a clear national categorization of women-owned and women-led businesses that speaks to our reality as Nigerians. For me today, represents a clear reflection of our collective resolve
to place women at the very center of national economic architecture. And I celebrate us all for that in anticipation of a reported outcome. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as you're already aware, no country can build inclusive prosperity if it leaves half of its population out of economic ownership. The economic empowerment of women is a smart investment and a necessary one for our national competitiveness. We are therefore committed to building the economy on a foundation of equity, resilience, and opportunity. But for economic reform to be meaningful, it must be measurable. And for it to be measurable, we must define what we are reforming. Despite the well-documented contribution of women entrepreneurs in every sector, from agriculture, retail to manufacturing, and digital innovation, we still do not have the nationally recognized definition of women-owned businesses. That absence creates a blind spot. It leads to policy gaps. It excludes women from financing, procurement, and investment. It weakens our gender disaggregated data systems. Most importantly, it limits our ability to close the gender gap in enterprise. Earlier this year, the ACCI board adopted a working definition that is both practical and progressive, and it has defined it as a sole proprietorship owned by a woman. Secondly, a business where women hold more than 51% ownership. This definition was further endorsed by stakeholders in January this year. But as we expand this definition, we must also protect its integrity. We must avoid tokenism and fronting. Certification, verification, and even community-based validation mechanisms must be put in place, because a definition that cannot be enforced is as dangerous as not having a definition at all. We must remove the structural and procedural hurdles that block women from accessing capital, accessing markets and opportunities. And this starts with a clear and inclusive definition, recognized by all. First, let us formally affirm a working national definition grounded in 51% ownership, while keeping room for further refinement. Secondly, let us integrate that definition into our national economic and investment frameworks across procurement, tax policies, regulatory reforms, and MSME strategy. Thirdly, let us co-develop a certification and verification framework that is credible, inclusive, affordable, and accessible to women in every corner of our beloved country. That this conversation is not only about defining business categories, but it is about defining our values. It is about saying to every Nigerian woman, we see you, we recognize your enterprise, and we're creating spaces for you to grow.
After the Minister of Women Affairs, James Lloyd gave a presentation on ICR facility and the intervention with a CCI.
It's a real privilege to be with you in Nigeria, here with you today. I'll speak very briefly about the history of the intervention and then a little bit on the definition, but I will not take too long. This intervention started in August of last year. The first phase continued until March of this year. We're now in the second phase. We had 2 dialogue fora in the first phase, 2 technical reports, and in the drafting of the second technical report, the first phase supported, it was really a Nigerian-owned initiative, the Joint Action Committee, which is established, and the working definition in the Joint Action Committee and also within SMIDA. Just very quickly on the Joint Action Committee, which is an interagency ACCI MDA body. There are 4 work streams. First is a definition of women-owned business, which we're working on today. The second stream, which will start after this meeting, is gender impact assessments. And this is so any intervention from the government of Nigeria can be subjected to an analysis. It doesn't have to be very complicated, but will help to inform a gender lens. The second is on gender desks, and the fourth is on governance. In our intervention, we have learned that gender reforms, they really benefit from balancing administrational reforms, so that's gender desks, policy reforms, gender impact assessments, and regulatory reforms, definition of women-owned business. This allows things to keep on moving. In this second phase, the Joint Action Committee has been meeting regularly and will continue to do so until the end of June. We're conducting this business breakfast. And on Friday, we're having an open day, and Honourable Minister, this is quite exciting because we are, through the facility, paying for the registration of 50 women-owned businesses, but we're combining that with information on financial services, business development services from ACCI, from lessons from other jurisdictions, which has done that if you mix those things, more women will register, will want to register, and their businesses will grow faster. I talked about the forecast for Nigeria's economy. The Honourable Minister for Budget and Economic Planning talked about the potential and the importance of those bold reforms. The technical reports that we conducted found evidence that reducing gender equality to peers in the region could add 1.25% to GDP. This is a big growth dividend from doing what is right, from progressing gender equality. Women comprise about 40% of newly registered businesses, but as businesses get larger, women's ownership of them reduces. So women are owning lots of small businesses, but not a great deal of large businesses, because of constraints that you know about very well. I don't need to explain that to you, but I'm most interested in the efficiency and effectiveness of regulations, and I'm a bit of a regulatory geek, and these things can always be better in any jurisdiction, the UK to the European Union to Nigeria. And within that, caring about certainty, precision, consistency, stability, and how implementable they are really, really matters. And that's why having a definition will support Nigeria in this journey to 2050. Just some different definitions from around the world. We've heard that we don't want to let the perfect get in the way of the good from the Honourable Minister for Women Affairs, and that's absolutely right. We need to have a good starting point, which is why this 51% standard is quite good. But there are other definitions. So we heard about IFC, including things like women on CEO, women holding CEO positions, positions on the board. And indeed, in some African countries, they have quite high standards to define a women-owned business, like 60% of ownership and 100% of management authority within Tanzania. This picture in the right-hand side here, this is the dialogue in January, where we presented a definition. It actually was not this definition. As we went through the dialogue, we adapted the definition to meet, I guess, norms within Nigeria, what was implementable. And so the definition was defined. But that right-hand picture there is people voting on this definition. So it was adopted by that informally, obviously, within that dialogue, and then it was taken forward into the Joint Action Committee in May, I think, this year, and adopted in the Joint Action Committee. Other institutions have also adopted it, like SMEDA. And in the work plan for the Joint Action Committee, there's two tracks. There's de facto, when lots of institutions are adopting the definition, and de jure, when it's legally adopted. I'm not sure how that would happen. That's a discussion for you all to have. But it balances, I guess, lots of things. And this here, I guess, mentions the different balancing criteria that the Federal Minister for Women Affairs has mentioned earlier. And I loved at the end of the Federal Minister's speech some of these things that we've been talking about in the communications that we've been doing on the radio, LinkedIn have been quoted. Without a national definition for women-owned business, we're blind to the challenge, to the opportunity, and to the results that Nigeria is delivering. And there's a lot of work happening on gender equality. And my message to you is, let's define what matters.
After the presentation, a panel that talks about the implications of a national definition for women-owned businesses in Nigeria.
This panel brings together a powerful mix of public and private sectors actors, those with authority, influence, and reach to turn the adoption of a national definition for women-owned businesses from a concept into a catalyst for real change. Our goal this morning is not just to discuss the definition, but to activate the systems you need to ensure women entrepreneurs are counted, supported, and empowered in ways that are measurable, inclusive, and institutionalized. So on that note, I say welcome. This will be very brief, and We want to ensure that this is participatory because we expect at the end of this, we give the audience an opportunity to make comments or make contributions as the case may be. First, I'll be looking at this topic. We're supposed to discuss the implications of a national definition for women-owned businesses in Nigeria from the institutional action lens. And my first question will go to you, madam, and that is, what concrete steps can your institution take in the next quarter to integrate the women-owned business definition into its policies and programs? I'll take on you first.
Good morning, everyone. Wonderful Minister. I think it's really clear. The first thing is advocacy. We need to push this as much as possible. And it is in educating, first of all, the women businesses need to know that they classify as women-owned businesses. So how do we start with them? How do we ensure that they understand the implications of this? How do we ensure that they understand what this then means for them and their businesses going forward? I think it's also important that in the advocacy part of it, we're pushing it with the organizations and the ministries that are relevant to the success of women-owned businesses. In the design of policies, in the design of programs, most especially. We've been in this space for such a long time, and there's always the conversation of what actually is a woman-owned business, right? I've been in spaces where people will tell me, well, my mother is my director on my CAC, so it means that it's a woman-owned business, so I can apply for this or I can apply for that. But this then is very clear now, right? So it gives us the opportunity to speak with the organizations, to speak with development partners, even in themselves, in the design of the programs and in the design of, who is actually a beneficiary for some of the programs that people are coming up with, even for us as a chamber. And it then is very clear for us, right, the kind of people or the kind of businesses we can support. And in thinking through, integrating this into how we work and into how organizations work, it becomes, I think what this thing has done, or what this definition has done, it has brought clarity into spaces where there has been a lot of ambiguity in the conversations that we've had. So now it is very clear. If you tell me that you have supported 20 women-owned businesses, how? What's the proof, right? Through this clear definition, we then know that if you tell me that 100 people have benefited from a program, or in the design of the implementation of the program, these were the things that you took into consideration, it then becomes very clear. So I think one of the major things that this is really going to do is to really just eliminate the ambiguity that comes in the support and the design of programs for women-owned businesses. And even then, for people who are trying to register businesses, they're very clear. So a lot of times when women are starting business, you put family members, you just throw in things, oh, let me just put somebody on the director, let me just, because I need to have 10 people, and that kind of thing. But then with this, you put it at the back of your mind, if I'm starting a business, 51% has to remain with me. I cannot share it out, right? So even when you are thinking through who I'm bringing into the business, if you want to bring 2 of your brothers and 3 of your sisters, you know how to allocate shares to each one, so that you're in that identification as a woman-owned business. So I think it's really important, the ambiguity that it's going to take away, not just for the businesses themselves, but even for the people who are supporting the businesses, for anyone who is thinking of coming into business, for anyone who is thinking of supporting businesses or designing programs, policies, even within institutions, right? Even within institutions. So this is not just the outward, conversation. It's also an inward conversation. So even for us as a chamber, if we're thinking through who are the women who we're allowing now to register as women-owned businesses within the chamber, because the chamber is supporting only women-owned businesses, right? We're very clear on, okay, you are, and if that parameter is not there, then we can say, madam, we need to do some adjustments so that you can benefit from things going forward. So I think for me, it's really that ambiguity that is taking out and helping each and every one of us to include that into our programs and policies as we design going forward.
I'll move over to Mariam. Mariam is of the Abuja Enterprise Agency. And my question will come from the policy mainstreaming lens. And I'll ask this one. How do we ensure that this definition becomes a standard reference point across all MDAs, especially for public procurement, credit process access, and capacity building initiatives?
Thank you very much. Abuja Enterprise Agency, this is a welcome development. I'm happy that we're here at the initial process of the project. And This is making it very easy for us to adopt and share the message and enlighten our SMEs. We already have an existing platform, Joint Committee, Women in Business platform. And we know that we can't work alone. This is too deep. We need to share the message, we need to enlighten. So we're introducing ethnic programs where we're going to keep letting women about this definition of child. We're also going to see that not only us, that other FCPA, MDAs that also support SMEs. We're going to work together with them. We'll make sure that we carry this along, send reports in terms of what we'll be able to do as an agency. But most importantly, procurement is a big issue for us in Nigeria. And we know that women have poor access to that. So for us, as an agency, it has also given us opportunities to say, okay, it shouldn't be the men alone when it comes to procurement going forward. The women should also be given opportunity as well. So that also has helped us with this. In terms of access to market and training programs, we are going to leverage on existing programs that we have. We also have a program on access to market already for women entrepreneurs under the Women Business project. We also have training programs for them. So what we're going to do is make it broader and make sure that we're keying into existing definition and we're not being outside what we call a leader property. So here to work with us, it's going to be big. We're going to carry along and give you all our report as we go. Thank you.
Well, I'm getting ready to work with you, but I hope you'll kill So we'll move to the next question, and the question is from the Legislative and Interministerial Support Lens. And my question goes to the National Council of Women's Societies. What support would your institution need to rally other government actors or legislative arms behind this definition?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm glad we're happy that our minister is here. The fact that she's here speaks volume. In terms of legislation, like we always say, and like I presented the message from the President, National Council, it is not enough for us to come up with those policies. It is very important that these policies are implemented. And that is where monitoring and evaluation comes to play. Because sometimes in our country, Nigeria, we have beautiful regulations, beautiful policies, but when it comes to implementation, that's where we have problem. If the relevant agencies can be carried along fully and well, and when we say being carried along fully and well, it's not just in terms of rhetorics. Action, action, action. We are here, we are on ground. We are ready to partner and work with all the relevant agencies to carry the message to the grassroots. Part of the challenge we are having is information. A lot of women businesses do not realize that they are in business. They will tell you they are just managing. But that business is putting food on the table. So it's business. But when they are fully recognized and well recognized, they'll begin to take it more seriously. We have a lot of children or our young ones who are unemployed, but because they don't see the little businesses that they do by the side as real business, they don't take it seriously. They just conclude that they are looking for a white-collar job, failing to understand that they also can be employers or labor. So if the relevant legislations are put in place, properly implemented, definitions are very clear, and our youths know that this dispatch riding business I'm doing is a business. I can focus on it very well and improve and acquire more motorcycles to do the dispatch business. The woman selling bole on the road knows that, yes, I am alone now, but I can increase this my business if I can get access to funds and expand this business to 4, 5, or 3 locations. I think sensitization, regulations and implementation is key. Monitoring and evaluation cannot be overemphasized. Thank you.
Now that you're talking about monitoring and evaluation, so I'll come back to you before going over to you. And because I did remember when you were making your submission, you talked about something in that direction, monitoring and evaluation. And my question to you would be, can your institution commit to integrating a tracking system for women-owned businesses in performance frameworks or data systems?
That's a tall task. But yes, I think it's a very interesting angle, because one of the things that we've been thinking around, even in the way that we've worked in the last year plus, is really just looking at what exactly is that dashboard that we use to actually track what we're doing. So for us, we want to know how many of our members are accessing grants, how many of our members are accessing loans. So when we go and say we've signed an MOU with an organization, how many of our members are actually benefiting from such, right? So in thinking through that is actually how do we create that dashboard, and what are we using that dashboard to track? If we're able to track properly in terms of, I mean, I know one of the conversations that we've also had recently is, even in the CAC cannot give us the actual number of women-owned businesses that are registered in Nigeria, because there's no part that helps us to define who is a woman or who is a man in the entire CAC process. I know that some work is being done around that now. So this is actually going to help to track how many businesses are registered as are women-owned businesses, in what sectors are these women. So we have an idea. Randomly, they ask you, what do you think are the sectors that women play in? We will say agriculture, because that is what is easily recognizable to us. But do we know that there might be more women who are actually playing in health? We don't know. Do we know that there might be women who are playing in education? We don't know. So this is what I mean, if I'm thinking around what that dashboard can track, this is what we're looking at. One of the biggest things that I faced when I came in is we don't have data for women in trade. We visited MDAs, we've had the conversation with MDAs, but how do we actually drill down to know how many women are trading, to what countries, what products they are trading, what's the capacity that they're trading in, what's the value in terms of dollars or naira that they're trading in? All those kind of information, this is going to help us get. So in thinking through what that dashboard is, and data is king, we know that data is king, it will help, the government, with the implementation of the policies even, right? With the design of the policies, with the design of the program. So in terms of what your question, I'm just looking at it as it's ringing as a dashboard in my head right now. And what is that, what are the red lights? What are the green lights in that dashboard? Who is doing what, who is benefiting what? When we talk about financial inclusion, how many women actually own accounts that they are regulating or they are using? It's one thing to own an account. It's one thing for you to be the one that's using the ATM card inside the account, right? So we want to be able to track, when we talk about financial inclusion, who actually owns the account, who is using the account. When BOI comes out to say that they have X amount of money for entrepreneurs, who are the women who are actually benefiting from this? When Bank of Agriculture now says, there's money for businesses, how do we track? And even if we're tracking, because this conversation, when you're talking about financial institutions, they will tell you, 80% of our customers are women. But remember what the Honorable Minister said about the 4 wise men. What one wise man will take, and what 1 million wise women will take, far apart. This will help us track. No, but it's true. If you go into the bank and you ask, they will tell you 80% of their customers are women. But in that, these women are taking 1 million, 3 million, 5 million. The men are taking 100 million, 200 million, 500 million, billions. So you cannot compare, right? So this dashboard, you've given me assignments. This dashboard is actually going to track, and even in thinking of that, right, is how when we talk about the tiering and the layering, if one woman collects 5 million today, and in 2 years she comes back and collects 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, we know that business is growing. So it's actually going to help us track. So there's so much that this can do, but what this really means is it's helping us to go back to the place of data, and data is what we can use to drive the economic empowerment of women forward.
Because actually you have indirectly responded to the follow-up question I had, which was to be what type of disaggregated data would be most useful to measure progress and inform future gender responsive intervention. So indirectly your response has covered that follow-up question. So I'll go now to the extreme, and my question to you from the leadership commitment angle would be, how will you as champion of this initiative beyond today, both internally and in your engagements? Or how will you champion this initiative beyond today, both internally and in your engagement with other policymakers as an entrepreneur?
Very good afternoon to you all, my minister, and everyone here present. I am Honorable Chieze Mokike from Divine Gold Global Consult Limited. I stand wearing two caps today as an entrepreneur and again as a civil society activist. You see, she has said it all. We cannot do much in Nigeria, just like my minister said here, if we do not actually have the actual data of people who are women in business. You go to CSC, you see so many companies being opened. People will just go there because they know that, okay, the government of this day, government of today is supporting women in business. A man will open a company just fixing people who are women to just be figurehead there where they don't know actually what is going on in the company. Women who are business women, I urge you all to come out. When somebody presses you down, forge what I had to do. I am who I am today because I fought ahead to work. ACCI, thank you for always remembering to call me up to talk on behalf of my women. It cannot be easy if we do not act. What he is asking me to do is a very big task. I cannot work alone. Some of our women entrepreneurs cannot work alone if we do not actually have the support. Affirmative action is important. One of our sisters, I asked her if she knows her. She said no. Our sister, Mrs. Precious Ebere, she's been going around. She's trained me on the various capacity, on sweep, on do, in collaboration with World Bank. We've learned a lot on how to stand firm to do procurement. Family in Nigeria is basically a man's business. You don't go there. Our Minister of Women Affairs knows about this. She's trained us. She's done a lot on that aspect to make us know how to bid, how to write what looks like a proposal. Formally, we don't know how to do this. And in fact, yes, on that capacity, I am willing to bring her along to work with ACCI, on that area, to train other women. I cannot stand alone if I don't have people working around with me who are actually women in business, not just women in business on clothes. Through ACCI, I have been able to go to many countries. I have a voice today because they have trained me. ACCI is doing a great job, and we want other ministries like our minister who is ready to work. She has the capacity and ready, not just having the capacity, she is ready to work. And having said this, let us all abide by this rule. And giving this our president what he wants. He wants to empower women. He wants to see women in business moving forward. We cannot keep doing what we have been doing over the years. We have to change the scenario. Let me not use another one. Let's change the scenario by making sure that this 51 and 60% of women-owned businesses, let it not just be registered in CSC. Let it be actually women who are taking action like I do in businesses. Let nobody go and use your name and say you are a director, whereas you don't know anything about business. That is killing your dream. That is making women lag behind. Because when you come to sharing money or collecting the money, they will not call you. My sister rightly said that getting a loan from the bank now is difficult for a woman-owned business. The men knows how to go there and get as much as they want. Please, thank you.
I want to say from these conversations we've had, there are three things that stand out because we were expecting the minister, Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, to provide her comments and observations. So we'll be expecting that she will be sharing with us ongoing or upcoming initiatives from her office where this definition could be piloted immediately to demonstrate early impact. That is number one. And then number two, that the minister will talk to us about identifying one or two strategic allies within government or the legislature that can help fast track formal adoption. And thirdly, what policy levers or coordination platforms currently exist that can be used to institutionalize this definition across sectors. And of course, beyond this, what we intend to achieve is that we have a scorecard that happiness is going to distribute to everybody in the room to enable everyone feel that form and let us know your area of commitment, what you intend to do in the next quarter to further or sustain the momentum of this advocacy effort so that at the end of the day, we all will be happy. So on this note, I want to say thank you to our panelists for an insight and action-driven discussion. Now, as we move from dialogue to commitment, we invite all institutional representatives present, especially those in positions of influence, to make concrete, time-bound pledges on how their respective organizations will champion the national adoption of the women-owned businesses definition. To guide this process, we've designed a simple but strategic tool, which I've mentioned, the institutional pledge scorecard. This scorecard is more than a symbolic gesture. It is a result-oriented mechanism to document real actions, timelines, and support needs that would move this agenda forward. We will ask each institutional representative here to reflect briefly and submit their pledges under 4 key headings: proposed action your institution will take, timeline for delivery, support needed for ACCI partners and other MDAs, focal person designated to drive the commitment in your agencies. We encourage you to fill this now. I'd hand back the form to Happiness. So we'll be coming back to you post this event to follow up with you on those critical areas we think you should be pushing. So your pledge today becomes tomorrow's policy reform. This is how we close the gender gap in Nigeria. Not by waiting, but by doing. Let's lead by example. Thank you.
After the panel, closing remark was given and group pictures were taken.